Well, good morning, Lionhearts. I noticed as soon as I woke up and came outside that it has rained. The ground's wet, all the cars are wet. That means I'm not going hiking today because it's going to be all mud. So I think I'm going to get my shower and go do that doctor's visit. Just go do my walk-in appointment and get that over with. Maybe it'll dry out by the end of the day. Maybe I can go hike then. And I gotta figure out what I'm gonna vlog then, because I had already planned my vlog to be something over by Runyon Canyon. So I don't know, we'll see what happens. Every day is an adventure. Something can always happen, and sometimes something doesn't happen, but we will see something worth seeing today, I promise you that. Daze with Jordan the Lion, and this goof begins now. Alright, I filled out the paperwork and they told me basically I just have to sit here and wait until somebody doesn't show up for an appointment, so that could be any time, so we'll sit and see what happens, guys. Well, I've been waiting for an hour and they just told me that the doctors are all going to lunch, so to come back in an hour. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I was kind of thinking of maybe going over to Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills and vlogging some of that when I got done here, but I don't know when I'm going to get done, so we'll just play it by ear and see what happens. I also want to see something that I had heard about and that the guy Rick from Randyland told me to check out, called the Chandelier Tree. He said it was a friend of his, but he said you wanted to see it at night, so maybe I'll do that tonight. I don't know. I'm gonna grab something to eat and we'll figure it out as we go. All right, attempt number 2 for the doctor's appointment. Too bad there's no historical significance to me sitting around my apartment watching movies, because that's what I really feel like doing today. That's what I really feel like vlogging. Alright, let's do it again. I'm next. So they need to do an EKG and an X-ray, and then I have to come back next week for follow-up before I do my surgery. Well, they had to do a blood test as well. I think I'm just gonna make it easy, and since it took like 4 hours for me to get done with my doctor's appointment, it's now 3:30, we're gonna do the Gower Gulch. Well, today we're in an area of Hollywood known as the Gower Gulch. And the Gower Gulch has kind of a weird history to it because it goes all the way back to the earliest of early days of cinema. And what this was this corner was kind of infamously known as Poverty Row. And I'll take a walk over here, because basically what happened was throughout the 20s, right here on this corner where this for lease sign is, for decades stood Columbia Drugs. And it was what would be the future home. This whole strip down here would be the future home of Columbia Pictures, where the Monkees would film. Some of the late 40s you would have seen the Three Stooges movies would have been filmed here. But in the early 20s, right there stood Columbia Drugs. And all the way up and down this street, all the way up and down Gower, there's the corner of Gower and Sunset. On both sides of Sunset would have been these little rinky-dink independent film companies. And they were all doing basically the same thing. They were struggling to make two reel comedies, dramas, westerns, any kind of picture, in the hopes that they would have a success, in the hopes that somebody would see it, want to distribute it. They had no guarantees they would make any money. They had no guarantees of anything. But this entire strip right here was known as Poverty Row. And one of the weird stories about this is that this is the Gower Gulch, and there were also studios over here. But the Gower Gulch was famous because everybody who was looking to be an extra in town would line these sidewalks, because they knew that all the casting directors, all the people in these studios knew exactly where to find them. So any day you came out here, you would have seen 10, 20, 40, 50, 100 extras, Western guys, cowboys, lining these streets looking for work. And one of the incidents was pretty famous because it was a man named John Tyke. And John Tyke was shot here, shot right in the back. And how that happened was, apparently he was a real bully when it came to the background actors over in this area. And he had bullied quite a few guys for too long, and one day one of the guys just pulled out a .45 caliber and popped him right in the back and killed him. So now they've turned this into a shopping plaza, and they've kind of memorialized it as the Gower Gulch. And the reason I originally had wanted to come over here was because they said that they had, on this sidewalk, they had some handprints of old Western directors and various movie stars. And I've been over here since I read about that, and I've never been able to find them. They even said they had one for Morton Downey Jr. over here. Now, there were songs about the Gower Gulch back in the 40s. There was a movie about the Gower Gulch. And now really all that's left is this sad looking shopping plaza, this little medicine show ointment cart, and this little wall of fame over here. So I wanted to at least show us the wall of fame, and I'm going to post in a bunch of pictures of the old Poverty Row and let you see what would have been Goodwill Pictures, and you would have seen Frontier Pictures and various other studios in the day. Rooster Cogburn. Roy Rogers. Dale Evans. Now, in the late 20s, Poverty Row started to go away pretty quickly because, like I said, in many cases, these film companies had no way of knowing whether they were going to make any money, whether they were going to be around a year from then. And sometimes a lot of these studios would fold just as quickly as they had popped up, and another studio would take its place with another dream that would fall by the wayside. And basically, the early 30s, the whole idea of a large studio really came to fruition, and all those little studios got bought up by the big ones. And like I said, everything that would have been over here, all the studios that would have been up and down this street and up and down Gower, they all started becoming one major studio. And right over across from me, like I showed you, that would have been Columbia Pictures, that now is Sunset Gower, where Saved by the Bell was filmed. So much for history, huh, folks? And this would have been the southern part of Gower, where a lot of those studios would have been lined up as well. Alright, so here was the wrap up for my doctor's visit, is that they gave me a phone number, said I have to call tomorrow and go get an x-ray at that place, and I can just walk in there. So I'll probably call them tomorrow, go get the x-ray on Friday, because I picked up a catering shift tomorrow and a catering shift on Saturday, so I'm going to be working both of those days, so I gotta go get some quarters and do some laundry now. What fun!